Thank you, organizers, for that wonderful welcome. It's an absolute delight to welcome all of you into what promises to be a very fascinating and engaging session of how deep tech is really shaping and evolving industries in India today. As the saying goes, if we were to predict the future, the best way to predict the future is to create it, right? And if we were to look at the vibrant innovation ecosystem in India, the startups that are at work behind the works, I think it will only be fair to say that they're actually creating the future. From AI, and I'm sure we have heard a lot about it in the past few sessions, to machine learning, to data, to augmented reality, virtual reality, robotics, drones. I think the ecosystem is taking bold steps in each of these directions. And of course, we have the government, the policymakers, the industry stalwarts, the academia, all of them are supporting the same. Like for most of us who have been in the technology industry for a long time, we know with great technology, and deep technology in this case, also comes great challenges and great responsibilities, whether it is cyber, governance, longer gestation time for some of these technologies to hit the market. There is also the risk of some of them, the market adoption in some of these cases. These are all challenges that all of us need to navigate, right? So to take us through this wonderful journey, we have an impressive array of panelists with us today, right? Each of them experts in their field. We have a motley mix of some startups, some mid-tier startups, and also some established organizations. I'm going to start from the left and ask each of you to introduce yourself for about a minute or so before we set the ball rolling. Please welcome all of them with a huge round of applause. Yeah. Go on, Amit.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I am Amit Gupta with more than 24 years of experience in industry. I'm currently handling the data science and AI ML division at Hughes Systique. As part of my role, we have been working with various manufacturing companies, retail, telecom, being in our DNA as a part of Hughes group of companies. And also the defense organization in terms of DRDO and other Indian defense organization, we have been working with some of the very innovative applications and use cases which are using deep tech. Primarily focusing on AI, ML. Other than this, we are focusing on quantum computing also as part of deep tech use cases that we have been taking to industry.
Awesome. Nishant.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Venkat. So I'm Nishant Gupta. I have around like 18 years of experience. I spent around 17 years into the corporates, then started this company called DevSecCops.ai. So we are mainly into DevSecOps, automation, cloud, and we are leveraging deep tech to build better products in terms of security and all. We started last year and we are helping 18 plus customers worldwide in different domains like automotive, fintechs, insurance domains, NBFCs, and all.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me. I'm Keshava from Sentry AI. We are a California-based startup who work in physical security and surveillance. We provide complete smart guarding solutions that includes processing of the images and videos from our customer cameras and generate what we call as intelligent or smart alerts that would be consumed by either guards or the owners. The alerts would include, intrusion detection, some of the community safety issue detection, and so on and so forth. So we are, our engineering and R&D center is in Bangalore, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Hey, hello everyone. Excited to be here. Myself, Murli. I head the data and AI division in A5G Networks. At A5G Networks, we are mission to build an autonomous networks, a network which is not just providing connectivity, but responds to the environment, understands their users, and provide a more meaningful and more intelligent network connectivity for all the use cases that has been deployed for. Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. I think just for the benefit of all of us, we are going to be splitting this conversation into three parts, and I'm sure all of us think of deep tech along those lines. One is the definition of deep tech itself, and the transition, right, from existing technologies into deeper technologies, which have a lot more correlation, if I may call it, with core engineering and the physical space. So that's one. We will also broadly touch about policies and the ecosystem in bucket 2 and how they're kind of helping all of us. And of course, we'll also touch upon the challenges. And last but not the least, of course, there is this recurring conversation. Even in the last discussion, we had conversations around some apprehensions, right, which is about displacement, which is about privacy, intrusions, and so on, right? So we'll touch upon all of these three things, right? So we start with the first one, and let me just toss this to the panel out here. There is technology, and then there is deep technology, right? So a lot of us are intrigued with what are the exciting things that we are doing in the deep tech space. Of course, we all know there is quantum, there is AI, and a lot of other emerging technologies out there. But how do you apply that into your sectors, in your realms, right? What are the exciting things happening out there? So if each of you could just take a minute, a couple of minutes to talk about it, that'll be great.
Maybe I can go first. Yeah, sure. Thanks. That's a very interesting question to start with. So the deep tech has always evolved as a stack on top of the previous technologies. So at least from the telecom network connectivity point of view, so the current technology that we are working with, it builds on top of big data and the cloud that is available as a fabric, elastic fabric to us. So the deep tech is helping us to conserve energy, to have more adaptable resources here, and we are adapting AI to help in customizing a network deployment to a particular location, to a particular segment of users as well. And so the AI ops and AI agents is helping us in a great way in optimizing the network, managing the network, and taking the network to a larger scale, which is otherwise not possible. So that's where we see things are helping us there.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to go to Amit because you did mention a few things about defense, manufacturing, and so on. Right? Any thoughts about how you're using it differently? How is it disrupting traditional industries, right?
See, one of the big thing and why it is making a big buzz in the industry about deep tech is it is very different from other digital transformation which has been happening. Most of us, at least from my start of the career, I have been in some digital transformation wave, be it from big frames to Sun Microsystems to today's VM or the cloud or some other transformation. The deep tech has bring a completely different paradigm of reasoning, intelligence, and open a new door. And some of the use cases I can talk about where we have been working very aggressively, at least for some of the things like manufacturing. Manufacturing has a very big thing that in a production, how is my defects managed? Can I reduce my defects? And that is a very big thing. I mean, one of our organization, we are working, they're making some nuts and tools, which is a very simple, hard things for defense. And it has to be at a very high precision. So a lot of things happens on how your environment is, how the machine condition is. And we have been working with them on a predictive analytics to see that how the defect anomaly and the machine conditions plays a role and halting the operations as soon as it start going into that direction, which saves a lot of things. Some of the things like a lot of us has fiber connection at our home and we complain, oh, I'm not getting good speed. Similarly, for solar rooftops installed at many people's home or the branches, they say, they are not as productive as they should be. But what is the reason? The installation is not good. Most of the organization outsource their installations to third parties, which are not doing good job or not trained or they have too much load. A simple AI-based systems, which may be based on vision and other part, the installer doing an installation, taking a quick pictures, getting a validation. It is technically correct, it is aesthetically correct, and all those things get verified in real time at that same time, which adds a lot of value for the consumers.
Absolutely. I'm going to quickly go to Keshava and Nishant as well. Do you think it is adding resilience to the way you're operating? Both of you run startups, right? And you're using existing technology and moving to deep tech. At least for Nishant, I know it's a quantum jump into deep tech. Is it adding resilience in the way you're doing things, or is it bringing up more questions?
Yeah, I think I can answer that. So for us, deep tech is AI. Okay. So if you see the physical security industry, right, it has gone through some waves of changes as time progressed, right? Initially, I mean, it was just putting a guard outside your premise to secure your perimeters, right? Then came the era of old school CCTVs, where you had closed circuit television where people can view. And then came into all these IP-enabled cameras, which enabled remote viewing of the perimeter, right? But the problem there is, I mean, that opened up a lot of opportunities in terms of remote viewing. But the problem there is you'll have to, the monitor, the person who monitors, you'll have to grow them in the linear scale, in the sense that as you add more cameras, you need more people to look at it. And it's a pretty boring task. I'm sure all of us agree that you keep looking at the camera all day, all night, right? So this is where the benefits of AI comes, or promises of AI comes into play, right? So we built an AI pipeline, AI-based pipeline in the cloud, which gets these images and clips from cameras and processes it through our deep learning algorithms and a few other things, rule engines, to generate what is useful for a user, what is important for a user to consume, or what is relevant for him. Right? This way, it makes the human who is on the other side more efficient in terms of monitoring. Right?
Awesome. So you are saying essentially it is adding to resilience and sustainability in the industry in a big way.
It does add to the resilience of the whole system. And as well, I mean, there is if you're talking about sustainability in both senses, right, there is a business opportunity where people would love for their premises to be monitored without adding too much cost into it.
Nishant, you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure, Venkat. So for us, I mean, basically Deeptech is playing a crucial role in our space. So what I see is, for example, like we are helping customers to release their products faster, right, in our software development lifecycle, right? So with the help of like automated CI/CD pipelines, integrating security, using a shift-left approach where we can figure out all the bugs at an early phase, and then implementing monitoring, active monitoring, I would say, like based on AI, so that it tells you like your application is going to get down, and then you can take some proactive measures to strengthen your system before it actually goes down. And then like maybe doing a planning around your cost optimizations, where you can make sure like, okay, this is my workload, these are the traffic which is going to come, and then I can build a highly scalable system based on my workloads, and then I can estimate the cost in a right way. So I think Deeptech is playing a very crucial role, and it's building a very sustainable, resilient system for us.
Beautiful. I think we have labored on the good parts of Deeptech. I'm going to do a rapid fire, right, and also ask each of you, as you are developing, you're at different stages in the journey of development, right? Startups and evolved and so on and so forth. What is it? What is that one thing when it comes to Deeptech that is occupying your mind space at this point of time? Security, governance. In the previous session, somebody spoke about privacy. It could be bias. It could be any of those things. So what's that burning opportunity area, right? We'll not call it a problem, that all of us are working on. So probably I'll start from the other end this time. Go on, Murli.
Sure. So I believe we are involved with AI one way or other, and this whole forum is focused on AI. So there's no AI without data, for sure. So the data collection, data democratization is still a major issue across all the domains. Everybody can relate to that. So India AI, the kind of initiative from India government had come up with a kind of a portal where data can be shared, but the awareness is not much. I believe many things has to come in that front. So the data availability democratization is one. And of late, the bigger challenge that is coming in basically is security in AI. So AI is getting into many places, many things, which we couldn't even imagine like a couple of years before. It's growing at much faster pace. At this rate, security is kind of lagging behind. We need to catch up on that. There's a lot of innovation in terms of technology, in terms of governance, although has to come in. So that's a second.
I think it goes without saying security is a big thing in any of the technologies, right? Keshava, you kind of tend to agree with that, or are there a different set of problems?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think he raised a very good point. But if you think about security and surveillance, right? I think here what we want to be careful about is the privacy, because most of the times these are the images. Right? We deal with images or videos, and we want to be careful that this is PII, right? What we call as PII, personally identifiable information. We want to make sure that we have some guardrails in place to make sure it's not shared, it is destroyed on time, and it doesn't get used in a way that it would compromise someone's private life, right, in that sense. So it's very important for us, and we strive to achieve that all the time.
It's very interesting. I was speaking to Keshava before the start of the session. He works in a very interesting field where they collect information from all the CCTV cameras, do their analysis at the back end, it's all sent into the cloud. And so I was asking him, so one is about the efficacy of how you recognize individuals and entities out there. The second is the sentiment, right? So bias, for example, could be one possibility. We'll probably come back to that,
Yeah,
but
sure.
that's an interesting point as well. Amit and Nishant, anything from your side on what's keeping you, what's on top of your mind?
For me, I mean, it's mainly kind of a data protection that comes under security only, right? Because if you lose any data, right? So, I mean, if you see the AI emits everywhere. I mean, you start a meeting, then a chatbot comes in, which is collecting all the summary of your meetings, right? And during the meeting, you are talking about the customers, you are talking maybe talking about your private life also sometimes when people are not around, right? So the main thing is the security, I mean, the data protection. So that's the main thing, because that's the main challenge, I would say. Because if data gets lost, or I mean, if somebody has access to your data, right? So that becomes major challenge not only for you, for your customers, and your image is at stake. So for me, I mean, it's a data protection.
Awesome. Amit, I know you work a lot in the physical space as well, the intersection between some of these deep tech with the physical world.
I think data is one of the key things, and all the three panelists have already talked about it. But I think one other thing which comes at top of my mind is more about a governance model. And when I talk about governance, I take it as a full journey of a AI model. So while you start working on a development, or you're creating a new deep tech solution, how are you going to validate it? It's a big question, because AI is a very different technology. I mean, if I just take an example of any LLM or a chat GPT, testing it with 100 questions, 200 questions does not give you any representation of a larger section of data. So how you are going to validate that part, and that's a big problem. And a lot of people are setting up their standard and specifications and other part, which is very crucial for that part. The other thing is, what is the cost of failure? AI model is a probabilistic science. It can never be 100% accurate. Nobody can say it's a 100% accuracy, because it's a probabilistic science which is working in the background. And what is the cost of a failure? Is it a life? I mean, if it's autonomous driving, and autonomous Tesla comes in India, it may be a point of our life or death. Economically, how the organization is going to get impacted if there is a miscode which is released by an AI agent to their customer or anything on a social platform. So cost of failure is another thing which is a big thing in my terms.
Awesome, awesome. Well, perfect. I think all of you have rounded it off well. There is data, there is privacy, there is bias, right, and a lot of things, it works behind the scenes. We'll move into the second bucket now, and we'll probably touch upon some of the policies, the ecosystem itself, right, and the way it is helping deep tech for all of us. There is the National Deep Tech Startup Policy, which has been released, right? There is the Tide 2 program, right, which is kind of helping entrepreneurs. Nidhi Prayas, I mean, we have representation from the government as well. They have been kind of helpful in facilitating this. How do we see as startups and the industry kind of look at all this? Are we satisfied with all the steps that are being taken in this direction? Are there white spaces where you think you could do with some more help? Any thoughts around this? And I'll let anyone pick up this question.
I think there are certain areas where policy is talking about very good things. One thing is, as I just said, it's a deep science which is running behind any AI ML model. Consuming a API from LLM is something else. Building an AI solution is a different thing. So as a country, we need a much deeper collaboration between academia and industry. And the policy very aggressively talks about how the research and industry is going to coexist, support each other, and take forward. And I think that is a key point, takeaway which I am taking as part of this.
Absolutely. I am cognizant of the incubators and the accelerators that are running across the institutions, whether it's the IITs
Yes.
or the IIITs, right, and the bits and so on and so forth. So you do feel that a more acceleration in that direction would help with some of these.
There are two ways to look at it. One is incubators and startups, which is going very good. I think at least at a premium institute level, IIT Madras has been doing very good as part of that, and there are other colleges also. But we need to take it forward, because the incubation center currently are focusing on startups. We need to see that in next 5 years, 10 years, do we going to have a bazooka product coming out of India, which can shake the world? Like ChatGPT came and everything was talking about Gen AI. We have been focusing on use cases, we have been talking on applications, but academia will provide that edge when they start collaborating with the larger organizations also.
Any thoughts from the startup fraternity?
Yeah, I agree. The academia involvement has to increase. So current deep tech policies are very encouraging. It puts the acceleration that is much needed from the deep tech startup perspective. Similar kind of acceleration is also needed from the academia and the research point of view, because there is no product, deep tech product at least without research and academia into it. That is very much required. Along with that, I think we have to position India as a global leader in terms of product development and technology leadership. So the government also has a greater role to play in positioning this. So this will help us attract greater talent and also investments into the country. That also plays a very key role in accelerating the whole domain forward, I believe.
Just to add to that, I think it's a very good point. And I took a cursory look at the policy, and it's truly, it covers almost all of the areas. There are a couple of things that caught my eye. One is what they call as capacity building, which I think he touched upon, and also diversity and skill development, right? So when we think about deep tech, we usually talk about the jobs which are sort of core technical, which is obviously required. He touched upon it. But at the same time, it opens up a lot of other opportunities for people, particularly some of these auxiliary jobs, if you think about it. Just to give in a separate vertical, for example, in gig economy, it created so many jobs in delivery boys, right? Similarly, even in deep tech, this data set creation, labeling, and the thing we do, for example, remote monitoring, right? That can be, you can educate or train young people with little effort, and they can be productive, and it'll make them get an employment also. I think that is something that we can collectively consider. It's a combination of just industry as well as the government, I would think.
Just want to add a small thing here. I think rest of the folks covered already all the things. In my view, what I see is since the cost failure rate is pretty high, right? You are building some LLM models, you are investing a lot of time and money into that. So what I feel is we need to build an ecosystem where we can get more and more investments into this space so that we can do more and more innovation. So that is what I think.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think the tango between the policymakers and the way they are facilitating the ecosystem for us, leading to a vibrant ecosystem of innovations and startups is quite fascinating and great points. In fact, the budget is due, I think, next month. Anything on the wish list, since we have the policymakers and some representation from everyone?
So my wish list is for the government to invest into deep tech technologies, bring it into the policy, have a policy which enables the deep tech, bring in policies which inherently would need these technologies to be in place. So this is a boost, both ways. It's a win-win for the government as well, and also the startup ecosystem and the deep tech products by itself. Anything on that angle would be a great plus from the budget, I would believe. Yeah.
Also some amount of, see, today I'm sure many of the startup founders in deep tech would agree. So if you were to train a model, new model, it needs huge computational power. And most of us rely on big clouds. And these clouds have been very generous in the sense that they give credits and whatnot. But if you were to purchase a service, it would cost an arm and a leg, right? I mean, it's quite expensive. So if there is some budget for creation of sharing the resources, which is not ubiquitous, right? In the sense that if you can rent servers or if they can give some kind of credits to startups, that would hugely benefit the startup fraternity is what I think.
I think from my side, I think there has been an immense focus on the fab manufacturing and data center industry already in the previous budget also. Yeah. So I would expect that to continue because that will solve a lot of problems about hardware, which we just talked about and in the previous session we were talking about. And other than this, I think they should, I think it's more about continuing because the government is already showing the focus and there shouldn't be any cuts from the previous budget.
No, perfect. Great points. I'm keeping a watch on time, so I think we'll quickly move on to the next bucket. How many of us out here are anxious about this new wave of technologies, whether it is AI, whether it is deep tech? Just put up your hands. Okay, quite a few. In fact, I think this is an interesting bucket to touch upon right? Which is the unsaid thing that's running on in everyone's mind, right? We have all these technologies, and we have these multimodal technologies that are coming into the picture. They're dealing with the physical world and so on and so forth. How do we, as the industry, see this evolution of human and machine collaboration, right? How is this going to pan out? Is one going to become a dominant force over the other, or we see them coexisting and kind of helping each other? What's our take on it?
I think I can take this with some, I have some experience in this.
Yes.
So just to give some history, we initially built our AI-based alerting system, which we made it fully automated. Right? So in the sense that if there is an intrusion, it would generate alerts, it would play sound, it would send a message, whatnot, right, everything. But then we also realized that having a human in the loop, right, I think gentleman who spoke before also touched about it. Having a human in the loop makes a huge difference. Two things, right? One is it gives more trust to the customer, that there is somebody who is looking at the alerts and validating them as a human. And second thing is that no matter, at least so far, the technology advancement is not at the level of human, right? I mean, human minds have come out of millions of years of evolution, right? So if I see someone, I can immediately say that he's suspicious or not. But AI still cannot do it. And even if there are models that are claiming to do some of those things, they will cost huge amount of money, and that is not practically possible to deploy them. And particularly the processing power also, right? I mean, it won't be a sustainable, at least at this rate of research, right? At least for next few years, it won't be a sustainable model. So. To answer your question, I think human-machine cohesion is what is going to stay. And I feel personally that AI is going to generate a lot more jobs, but in different flavors. So the skill set may be different from what people do know today, but it is going to be, the skills that are, the people have to be ready or open-minded to pick up these new skills and add value to the whole value chain.
I also want to share a couple of my personal experiences. For example, like I remember I was working for a robotics company during this COVID time, right? So basically they were building some disinfected robots where they were going to different hospitals, disinfecting the complete hospitals, right? So basically, I mean, AI played a very crucial role during that time, I would say, right? So, I mean, the human life were in danger, right? And where we built this kind of systems where they could go and save the human lives, disinfecting everything. And then there are a couple of use cases which I have personally experienced, like where, for example, in mining industries, in like, for example, big tanks where going to those levels where there is no possibility for a human to go to those levels, right? And cleaning those tanks because there is a life in danger, right? Where AI played a crucial role, and then it actually helped human life in a better way. So I see it as a collaboration between human and machines and the Deeptech. And yes, there are few repetitive tasks which has been removed using AI, and they have killed some jobs, but it has created a new possibility of new opportunities. And I assume like it has created a new jobs, even like 10x more than the existing ones. So we see like there are everywhere we see AI use cases. I mean, so it is creating more jobs, in a better way.
Amit, you want to add to that?
I agree, and I think we need to look at in the past, whenever a new technology has come up, there has always been a fear that, okay, how is it going to impact the humanity or the humankind who's the way we are working today? I remember when the computers initially came, there was a similar discussion, will it replace the human? And today you see the computers have evolved so much that they have created a new possibilities. The banking system has completely changed. There are no ledgers. And there was a hue and cry when computer initially came in the banking, and same with the AI. I think the routine and the regular jobs will get replaced, and AI will enable human to do much more powerful and a bigger thing. There's a lot to be done for as a nation to be a developed nation, and that's where AI will take it as. It will enable a lot of people and to do higher capability things.
Absolutely. I think all of us are in agreement, at least in the tech world, that we are taking bold strides in this direction.
And same in the audience, because we had
Absolutely.
very few people with the apprehension.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. What about, I think what goes hand in hand with this is the bias, right, and some of the, those considerations that come into the equation. How are we dealing with those in our respective industries?
Yeah, so bias is a very tricky and sensitive point, and everybody has to be cognizant of it, no matter which industry and which technology we use. In network connectivity, more than bias, along with that, the personal user characteristics, the patterns in which they connect, what they communicate with, whom do they communicate with, also becomes very important as well. So we have to have all the frameworks in place. We need to ensure all the information that is being shared for making the network more resilient and also personalized shouldn't cross a boundary where we get an intrude into their personal lives as such. So there is always a balance in which we have to maintain, there is a technology advancement. At the same time, it could turn into a personal space erosion. We should keep that balance always. It should always be to the help of the people rather than causing any deterioration to them.
In fact, on this one, Keshava, I promised I'll come back to you, right, because you work in an interesting field as well. Sentiment, emotions, how's that panning out?
Correct. Yeah, very. It's something very close to our hearts, especially when you are in image processing and vision-based problems, right? See, if you think about it, right, the systems by themselves don't have any bias. The bias comes because the data that is used to train them has some bias in it. So it's very similar to the fact that human beings can be trained with some biases, right? This kind is not good, this kind is bad, and those kind of things, right? Now, what happens is if you are not careful enough to pick the data sets that you train the models with that do the detection or identification, then you may end up having this imbalance of I'm just giving an example. People of a certain type are more susceptible or more prone to do this intrusion, right? Those kind of bias can come into the data, and that will in turn percolate into models prediction and hence identification and so on and so forth. So I think the problem have to be solved in the root, right? We cannot do anything after you kind of build the system, but before when you build the system, you have to identify right set of data, and you have to put right checks in place to make sure that these biases don't come into play. Yeah. And just to so even in many cases, even the sentiment goes in the same way, like bias.
No, I think you make a great point, and that kind of weaves back into what Amit was also saying, right? The question of governance, especially in some of these technologies, when you see these things in inception. I mean, in security, say secure by design, that was like a big subject at that point of time. Now, governance and bias, these kind of things are also pivotal in some of these things. No, fantastic. Like I said, I'm cognizant of time. There are lots of other things that we want to cover. But I think we'll leave the next 5 minutes or so for any kind of questions from the audience.
Yes, we have time for questions. Any questions? Can we have the microphone given to them, please?
You're audible. Wait, this mic is open.
No, it was, I think, very, very useful and very, very practical discussion. And thanks, Venkat, for asking such fantastic questions, which brought out, that great information that we were looking for. In the beginning, I think we talked with it, and probably that's what we touched upon towards the later part of our discussion. Also, like it was about the data. We started with data democratization, and we also talked about bias in the data. And we know like AI is as good as the data we feed to it. So for those people who do not have any digital footprints, there's no data available about it. So do you think like AI is going to create a bigger gap? For those people, it will say benefit more those people for whom data is available, and those for people whose data is not there, who do not have any digital footprints, they'll be left out. So don't you think like it's just going to create more gap? It's going to create gap rather than bridging the gap.
Yeah, I think, if you may, yeah. So I think we are, it's a very good point that you're making. We are already seeing such trends to an extent. For example, some of the most common data sets that we use to train models are from the West, right? There's not much of a representation of India, or for that matter, other Asian countries except China, right? So some of these things have to be solved systematically. I think we have to, as in collectively and consciously, start building the data sets that are required without, of course, compromising any, privacy or those concerns. That would make it more balanced, I would think. And I don't think the problem is with the people not having data versus data. It is about the systems that we built, right? If the systems are not the right representation of the country which they are serving in, or the population which they are serving in, that's going to be a problem.
I have a little different take on this and like to add 2 cents to that part. What he said makes complete sense, that if there is no complete representation of data, the model will be little biased and it will not include them. But as I said, what is the cost of failure? At every time we need to see, am I making life better for those people where they are currently? If my AI models are taking educations to it, I'm starting to get them aware about new things, making them learn and getting their digital footprints. So eventually as a model, I'm upbringing them, then it's a good case. If you are not and just creating a divide, then there's a problem. And taking an example to a totally different paradigm of our industrial world, we were working with one of our telco, and based on AI, we could predict 50% of the issues that they are going to face in next 48 hours. AI type, very poor model, you are predicting only 50% of the issues. Practically, you know 50% of your problem which you are going to face in your life. So now you need to mess with only 50% of the remaining problem. So there are ways to look at some of these numbers with a vision that is it adding value or not.
Yeah, I just want to add a simple thing here. I mean, I think it's a process, right? So basically, when you are building the model first time, training it with a limited data set, right? So your model will not be accurate, maybe more than 50%, right? But then you will, if you are adding maybe a 1% value or maybe 0.5% value to some system, right? Then you will start getting the data, and then you can start evolving your models, and then eventually, I mean, you will be able to build a better model. So you will be getting more and more data as you will start.
I think, yeah, we can probably take, yeah, please.
Thank you for a very insightful discussion. Is it working? Okay. I'm a little bit concerned about the kind of conversations I hear. This is the second AI conference I'm being a part of, and I feel that the kind of discussion we are having about how industries are taking shape is like someone being in the industry and seeing incremental changes. And I think I hear the conversation about incremental changes. But when I hear leaders globally, who are spearheading the development of AI, the AGI they say is right there. 2025 could be the year of the AGI. And that's likely to change things dramatically. We are talking about so much intelligence, being available through AI, which will change the entire landscape of how we do business, how we live, the potential employment opportunities. I mean, I would love to hear from you about what kind of areas do you think that humans will still be required with AGI coming in the next 4 to 5 years after AGI comes in, and what could be the impact of that on the job opportunities for the masses?
Yeah, so I can start on that. So that's a very valid question, and as Amit was saying, this question has popped up multiple times in the history at different eras to it. So we are in a transformative age, so this question again pops up. I personally believe the job roles that we... is this better? All right, okay. Sure. So I personally believe the job roles that we do today will be different in another 5, 10 years for sure. But the responsibility that each and every human holds would remain the same. So if a person is responsible for running a company, he still do the same. A person is responsible for improving, for example, the customer satisfaction that we spoke about, he will remain the same. The tools that he uses, the approaches he uses will be different. It's people talk about moving from steam engines to electricity. It has brought in a transformative change in the industry as such, in the community as such. But the core responsibility that each and every human does has only increased, right? And he's expected to do more, and it has propelled the industry in a much faster rate. Similarly, we could talk about a calculator being replaced with an Excel sheet. Things has made an accountant do things much better than what he was otherwise not possible. So AI is something like that. It's a new tool. It's a powerful tool. It's going to make the humans do things better than what they are doing today. It's not going to replace them. It's going to replace the way in which the work is done, but the responsibility of the human would remain the same, and the importance of human will only increase as we move forward. And that's how I see it there.
Just one line, AGI is not going to come in 2025. We are still struggling with LLM hallucination. Forget about AGI.
But I think you make a fair point. We are out of time, but you make a fantastic point, and I'm kind of in consonance with you, right? I work deeply in the security industry, and there is fatigue in the ecosystem, right, when you're dealing with mundane things, right? So we are already moving to a situation, right? I mean, in security, there is this thing saying that the attacker only needs one open area to kind of make a segue into your ecosystem, right? So it's creating lots of opportunities, right, where we are able to do far greater correlations between them, and kind of, and there is, of course, there is lack of talent, or rather an insatiable requirement for talent, I would say, right? So it's kind of bridging all of those and creating lots and lots of opportunities. So great point that you bring up. Unfortunately, we are out of time, right? So we'll stop right here. But thanks to the panel for a very, very engaging discussion. I think the one takeaway that all of us would take from this definitely would be that deep tech and some of these technologies are not a glimpse into the future, right? But they are right here, present right here, and we need to embrace it, like some of us rightly said. Thanks also to the audience. I know perhaps you have been holding some of you from lunch, but you have been a wonderful audience as well, and thanks for the great questions as well. Hope you enjoyed it just as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the day.